Good morning, everyone. It is 9:35, and I am calling to order the meeting of the Travis County Facilities Corporation. Roll call, please.
President Sherrod Brown. Vice President Judy Flores.
Present.
Director Laura Getchie. Present. Director Wilmer Roberts.
Present.
And Director Jimmy Paver.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Item number 2 is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of May 1st, 2025?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. The next item is public forum citizens communication. Is there anyone signed up to speak?
No, this time.
Okay, thank you. We move on to the next item, which is the regular agenda finance report as of April 30th, 2025. Mr. Howard.
Yes, we're going to have Mr. Subra.
Yeah. So good morning. So the financial report on page 12 of the board packet is through April 30th, 4 months into the year. And what I wanted to point out was on page 13, I updated the projections for this year. 3 of the projects has been delayed and they are highlighted in yellow. So our initial projection that we had in the budget, 6.2 million, actually 700,000 of that we received in 2024. So the adjusted projection at that time should be 5.5 million, and the new projection is 3.5 million because of the 3 projects that's been deferred to 2026. So out of that 3.5 million, we have received 922,000 through April 30th. That leaves 2.6 million that we estimate to get by the end of the year. Again, these projections kind of change. They kind of change. So if there's any changes, I will update them again and provide you with a new projection. Maybe I'll do the projections every quarter because we didn't anticipate these 3 projects to get deferred to 2026, but that's what happened, and I had to lower the projections. So through April 30th, the set aside has got $5.4 million in cash reserves, and the regular reserves, TCFC reserves, which we use for our overhead, HATC overhead, it's as of April 30th, it stands at 2.7 million. And on page 14, I've done an analysis. 2.7 million as of April 30th. We've got obligation of 1.8 million for the next 8 months. And if we with the projections we have through the end of the year, we would get 2.6 million, and half of that would go to the set aside fund. So the TCFC reserves would stand at 2.2 million at the end of the year. We could possibly, if Bergstrom is sold, we could possibly get 1.5 million. Half of that would go into this reserves. And if Belmont goes through, we would get half of the issuer fee and contractor fee. So that would put us at 3.4 million.
Super. So Belmont, is that including the $2 million that we would provide for gap financing?
Well, that's on the other next schedule because the $2 million would come from the set-aside fund. So I can go through that schedule now, but this is the TCFC reserves, which is used for the,
Internal operational side as opposed to subs.
So, without accounting for, the possibility of the sale of Bergstrom, it'll be at 2.2 million, assuming that the projections we have now is, there's no changes to the projections we have now.
Well, you know what's causing some of the delays, Patrick, or Sue?
Yeah, market conditions, bless you. Primarily market conditions, just some uncertainty. I mean, that's essentially what's happening. I mean, at some point it was more the development process and, delaying materials and supplies, and now it's just the market. But I will tell you that we feel fairly confident about Bergstrom being sold. He told us it's imminent, 75 days, so we feel pretty good about that component as far as projections go.
Can we go to the next slide?
Okay,
Sorry.
so let me jump to the next schedule, which is on page 15. 15 is the set-aside analysis, set-aside reserve analysis. Right now, we have 5.4 million. On this schedule, I am, putting in the obligations we have. We were going to pay off the note for Maynard Town 2, which we did in May. And also, I'm also putting in the Carson Creek, $400,000 in additional funds for Carson Creek. The gap financing for Cameron Road, $2 million. And I'm also putting in the expected, or if Belmont gets approved, the $2 million commitment. And the Travis County home ownership commitment, $142,000, and also about $500,000 for Maynard Town 2 that we committed in prior year that we haven't drawn yet. And the funds that comes in is the TCFC projections, half of it, 1.3 million. So that would put us at 1.4 million at the end of the year. That doesn't account for if Bergstrom gets sold, we would get $750,000, and also half of the Belmont issuer fee and general contractor fee, $461,000. That would put us at 2.6 million if we account for those two items.
So if we were to remove the projected 8-month revenues and then the Belmont issuer fees, that's dropping us down quite a bit. So we're looking at around roughly $1 million that could be in our set-aside reserve balance, correct?
I can't hear you.
Sorry. So if we were to remove the estimate project 8 months revenue, because we're not sure about closings. So that's 1.3. We literally could cut our set-aside reserve balance in half.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Belmont issuer fee, if we proceed, we would get that no matter what.
Yeah.
Possibly it could be next year if they don't close this year, correct?
They said they would close this year. We asked them, they said as soon as it gets approved. We asked them specifically when would those funds be coming in. But of course, things can get pushed back too. But
Okay. And then as far as when it comes to Carson Creek, are we expecting any additional funds beyond that $400,000?
we put additional fund, the last meeting I said 250 and, accounting for, to put a good cushion and some unexpected items, so we kind of increased it to 400.
Okay.
And there was a question about the Maynard Town, the $1 million, half, 400,000 is already budgeted on the 2025 budget, and we don't expect the remaining to be committed to go forward until next year, so we can budget it in next year's budget.
The Travis County homeownership commitment line item that's on here, is that just for 2025 or is that the multi-year commitment?
It would just be for this year. I mean, because we're looking at only this year right at the moment, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioners? And we will move on to item B, Belmont project status update.
Yes, so as we, segue into Belmont, the discussion about market conditions, we got a request from the developer. As you know, you all have committed $2 million already with the notion that we would receive 10% of the units at 30% AMI, assuming the gap, assumptions they made about their gap. So they've, over time, discovered that their gap is more substantial than what they had anticipated and are asking us to still provide the contribution of $2 million, but similar to the Thaxton Road project, they want to reduce that number to 5% at 30 AMI. So this is the discussion we're having today. Summer's here. She provided a synopsis of the potential options that we might have to consider. Staff is the real estate committee did meet. Staff is recommending, based on the previous conversation about our financial position, that we should move forward with our commitment that we've already made to finance the project. And so this scenario gives you what likely will be the case, given whether we forego the commitment that we made or we move forward with the commitment. So I'm going to allow Summer an opportunity to sort of provide some context here. But that's essentially what we wanted to sort of make you aware of today. Summer?
Good morning, everyone. So what we have here, what I've provided to Patrick, is kind of a matrix of fees. And so just to give you an idea of what those represent, is we have kind of three scenarios to choose from if you choose to move forward with this. The first scenario is not making the loan and only requiring 60% area median income units. So it'd be 100% of the units at 60% of AMI. The second scenario is providing the $2 million loan, agreeing to the 5% at 30% AMI, so reducing that from 10%, with kind of your typical fee structure, which is 1% of the amount of the bonds, plus an ongoing, that's your closing fee. Your ongoing fee is $50 per unit per year for so long as the bonds are outstanding. And I believe these are bonds that are anticipated to be outstanding for a long time. That's the structure they're looking at right now. Then your general contractor fee, which is $1,500 per unit. And then your developer fee share, which is 40% of the developer fee, and then 50% of cash flow in any loan repayment. The third scenario is we make the $2 million loan, we stay at the 5% of the 35% of the units at 30% AMI, but we do an accelerated issuer fee. And so I was trying to figure out a way to maximize or minimize, I guess I should say, maximize your repayment, but minimize the time that it takes for you guys to get dollars in your pockets, right? Understanding the time value of money. And also, if you're putting out $2 million, that loan won't be repaid for some time. It'll probably be year 18 to 20 based on the economics right now. Obviously, those can change. But I wanted to, after listening to some of the discussions that you guys have been having about money and wanting to make sure that we're keeping the financial environment there healthy, I wanted to try to maximize your fee. So I proposed to the developer, we do, instead of 1% issuer fee at closing, we do 1.5%. So that increases it from approximately $380,000 to $567,000 that you'll have in your pocket closing on day one. And in exchange for that, we reduced the ongoing annual fee to $20 a unit. And if you do the math over the first 18 years, which is what I looked at here based on the numbers that NRP provided me, you're going to get about the same amount over that time frame. So it's $655,000 if we do the typical fee structure, the 1% and $50 a door, or $678,000 if we do the 1.5% issuer fee and $20 a door. So you end up over the course being kind of in the same place, but we front load your fees so that you guys are getting that money back in the bank so that you can then utilize that money for operations or whatever else you need to use that for. And so that's kind of what I was trying to model here, was just to show overall, kind of how we were able to get more money to you guys sooner. And then if you look at the, and Patrick, I don't know if you provided everybody with the Excel spreadsheet or not, but basically under the model, the accelerated fee model, the total fees that are projected that you would receive by year 5 is $2.02 million. So even though you haven't been repaid the loan, right, because that debt where it falls in the order of payment and the waterfall is going to be further down, you see here that you actually have received that money back. So you've been quote unquote repaid, but your loan is still outstanding. They still owe you that money. And so we'll make sure that we caveat that if the project sells, that you're, first in line to get repaid. And obviously once the project is cash flowing, then you'll be getting that repayment. That obligation doesn't go away for them to repay that, but it's just showing you that in terms of the dollars in the bank, you will have recouped your initial kind of investment in the terms of just actual dollars by year 5. And by year 3, you should have about $1 million. So you're halfway there by, kind of project completion before the project leases up. So that's kind of, I think that this structure gets you paid back the fastest. And it's the most certain fees, because the developer fee, we have that modeled out here as well. That is dependent upon many factors that can change, but the issuer fees and the general contractor fee are the 2 fees that you guys are guaranteed to get, absent any, huge kind of force majeure type issue. Those are the fees that you're going to be receiving, kind of hard pay fees. So just trying to maximize that. But if you guys have any questions, or if this is, I hopefully I've done an okay job of explaining this, but if you have questions, I'm available.
So of these 3 scenarios that you've laid out for us, does the developer have a preference?
I think they would prefer probably to do the $2 million loan with the normal issuer fee, right? Like under our normal terms, but I don't think that is the most, they are willing to do any of these 3. But
so how many units at 5% do we get on this project?
I believe it's 17 units, and it is pro rata by bedroom type. I don't have that breakdown of the bedroom type in front of me, but it will be pro rata.
Well, my only point would be, given the uncertainty with the set aside and where we're drifting, is that we might want to consider as a board not moving forward with a $2 million loan on this project, given that it's going to cut our units in half and maybe increase the instability of y'all's financial position.
So I agree with Jimmy, and I'm also concerned that we're changing policy on this one deal and don't want to set precedent in the future for other developers to come in and say, we want the same.
What happens if we don't do the deal? Where does that fit our income structure?
We can withdraw the loan and have them do it at 60%. And then keep that money in the set aside for a project where we're going to get more affordable units. Just something to consider.
I mean, in all honesty, I find this just, I mean, I don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak, but I'm disappointed because I had really seen this $2 million loan in exchange for 30% units as a big win.
Right.
And so this is, I tend to be in agreement with the two of you.
Well, you got your answer there. You got three of you. Some of the three scenarios, which would you recommend?
I think it just depends on how much you want the 30% units, right? Because you can, I think I heard someone say you're cutting your units in half. Well, if we don't incentivize them, we're going to have zero, right? So I see this as we're adding 17 more 30% units by putting the $2 million loan in. So I guess it just depends, but we could wait and see if economic conditions change and that you can get more bang for your buck on a different project. I will tell you that things are extremely challenging across the state. So last year we closed 37 tax credit deals in our office. This year, I think we're probably going to close maybe 8, just because of the way that the market has shifted with not only the federal administration, but some things happening at the state level, and then interest rates and construction costs. It is just a very challenging time. Tax credit equity pricing has been kind of one of the biggest issues. Last year we were seeing tax credit pricing anywhere from like 88 to 91 cents on the dollar. And this year it's about 10 cents less. So we're talking kind of like 78 to 83. And that just means that these deals have gaps. And that is, again, across the board. I have this like list over here is all the deals that I have, all my tax credit deals. I don't have anything that has moved forward this year. It's just challenging. So, it would get you some 30% units, but could you wait to see if, in 6 months or a year, you could put it in a different deal and get more bang for your buck? Maybe. It's hard for me to tell you if it's better for you to leave the money in the bank or better for you to get those units on the ground. So
as an agency, using a third of what we've set aside over the last however many years to have a reduction in what we're trying to achieve as a board just gives me a lot of pause. And so I think from an interior perspective, it's hard to stomach the idea that we're gonna do that because we're putting so much of what we've set aside into it.
I mean, if you think about it in terms of the $2 million and the 17 units, you're talking about $115,000. It's actually closer to $118,000 a unit that you're spending basically to get 30% units on the ground. And so I think you as a board, you have to determine, is that a worthwhile investment? And again, you're spending it, but it's going to be repaid over the long term, right? You're not getting paid back tomorrow, right? But that's another way to look at it. I think, the developer, again, would move forward with any of these and doing the 60%, 100% at 60%. I think they're still going to be able to move forward with the project. But it's really you as a board have to decide that from a policy standpoint. And I don't think there's a wrong answer or a right answer.
Sumner, is there any legislation that passed this session that will affect any of these scenarios or anything?
No. All the legislation that passed affects housing finance corporations, not public facility corporations. So it's a totally different entity governed by a different statute. So the amendment to the statute was only on the Housing Finance Corporation statute.
Just wanted to verify.
That's a great
Chair,
question.
if I may, President. So the other scenario, I mean, the other thing to consider is we've built this messaging on the notion that we're going to incentivize units. It's obviously very difficult to get 30% units. Most developments don't have any. At best, 5, and this is over the last 10 years I've been here. We've tried to get 30% units, and this board drew a line in the sand and said we would try to figure out some way to leverage that. You know, maybe it's not the time because of the scenario, but 30% units are very difficult. But I will tell you, the success we've had at the county is predicated on the notion that we were trying to do something, even if it's not necessarily as much as we would have envisioned. I just don't know if the market conditions are going to change in the next year and a half that says, oh, now they're going to give us 10 or 15%. But every time we message, every time we present a project going forward to Travis County, we suggest to them that this is what we're doing. And I don't know if it's, if that's enough, right? But it is more than most are doing. And we could share with them the reason why we're not incentivizing projects is because we're not going to get enough out of it. I mean, which may be in fact the case. I just do think that it does mean something, and we just need to consider that as we think about what that looks like. We've got a project moving forward currently, and the messaging is, hey, we're incentivizing 30% units next year, or and so I don't know. I'm just sharing with you that it may be something you want to consider, even in light of the fact that we're all disappointed in the notion that we can't get more. But I think this has been a disappointing year all around for anybody doing development. I mean, it's just not been ideal. So if you just take that in consideration, not to try to sway you, but it is a situation that's kind of out of our control, and I think we're doing the best that we can to make good on what we said, even in light of the fact that there's all these situations that are out of whack.
Yeah, and I'm completely sympathetic to that idea, okay? But I'm also, as a practical matter, if we can do it at 60% and save our money for a better day, then we should explore doing that, because it is such a significant proportion of the money that we have in the bank. So I completely understand. I know that we're going above and beyond to provide these units. My hope was always that we could get more for that money. And so we can't do anything about the market conditions, but we can certainly pivot to a different format where this deal still gets done. There's still money coming in, and we don't get $2 million of our precious booty.
And I hear you. I'm also loath to say to give up these 30% units, but I agree with Jimmy that it's just so much of our money for this deal. I mean, I totally hear you. And Summer, I did want to thank you for this. It's very useful, and I can recognize it as an attempt to try to negotiate something. Kind of the accelerated issuer fee is an attempt to try to, do something in response. But yeah, I'm having a hard time.
And I agree with both commissioners, and I think just getting a projected return on scenario 3 at 3 years, again, it's a projected return. So I'm going to be prudent with that money. I want to keep it in the set aside and reserves.
Understood.
I agree.
Do we need to take action?
No, we
There
don't.
is no action.
Okay.
Yeah. We just needed guidance. We're clear.
I appreciate everybody's input.
There's no more discussion. We will move on to action item executive session. Is there a need to move into executive session?
No.
Okay. If not, we will move to item 6, which is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, motion approves, and we are adjourned at 10:03.